Once you've created a report, you can modify it in the layout view. We explored many of the layout view features in the chapter about forms, so we're just going to highlight the ones most relevant here for our particular reports. Scroll down to the bottom of the navigation pane and find your sales rep's phone list report. Double-click on it. Come up here to the View button and toggle down to Layout View. Notice that you can now click on your labels and your field names, and they'll get orange boxes around them. Let's start by choosing a theme. Click on this button up here and scroll down to Foundry. It turns our form green and makes the font more interesting. You can also change the fonts from this Colors box. You can use the color scheme we made in the chapter about Form Layout View and use the same steps we followed in that lesson to modify your colors. Layout View is table-based, so that all the data are organized in rows and in columns. The headers and the data move and resize independently, so if you want to alter both at the same time, you need to click on one and shift-click on the other. Click on last name, hold the Shift key, and click on the list of last names so that they're both highlighted. We can resize the fields as a group by pointing at the right edge, getting a double head arrow, and dragging over to the left-hand side. They'll all resize. Now I want to move my first names over. Click on the first name header, shift-click on the first names themselves, hold your cursor over the middle of the field and get a four-headed arrow, and drag over to the left, and the field will move. Let's also pick up the right-hand side with a double-headed arrow and make it a little smaller. Next, let's do cell phone. Click on cell phone, shift-click on the phone numbers. This time, use the arrows on your keyboard. Use the left arrow, and it will move your data over. Sometimes this is easier than dragging. Let's resize the right side so that we can see all of our cell phone numbers, and do the same thing to home phone. Shift-click on both, use the arrows on my keyboard to move them over, and place them precisely, make the right side a little bigger. Now I also noticed that cell phone and home phone don't have spaces. Double-click on cell phone and click your cursor right in between the two words and tap the spacebar. Then do the same thing in between home and phone. Next, our email addresses. Click on email, shift-click on the list of addresses, and this time just resize the left column and pull it over to the left side. Now, no matter what we do, our email is going to be very large. So let's change the font size. Click on one of the email addresses, and then come up to your report layout tools and click on the Format ribbon. Here, where the font size is 11, drop that down and make it a 10. Now they all fit. Scroll down to the bottom. Our report already has page numbers, but if I wanted them somewhere else, I can click on the page number and then delete it by pressing delete on my keyboard, and then go to the Design ribbon and choose Page Numbers, and we get a dialog box. I have the choice between saying page 1 and page 1 of 3. I can position them at the top of the page or the bottom of the page. I can change the alignment. I can have it on the left, the center, or the right side of the page. If my report is going to be bound, I can have the page numbers on the inside near the binding or the outside near the loose edges. I'll choose outside. You can also choose whether or not to show the number on the first page. For now, we'll leave that on. Click OK. Now, it put our page number in the header, but it did it on top of email. Click on page number, and let's drag the left-hand edge smaller so that page number moves over to the right-hand side. When you're ready to print, let's click up on the Page Setup tab, up under Report Layout Tools, and here you can adjust your paper size, your margins, make them normal, wide, or narrow. We'll leave them as they are by clicking back on the button. I can turn off this Show Margins checkmark if I don't want to see the margins on my screen, but that doesn't actually affect my printed report at all. I could also have it print the data only without printing the headers. I can change it here from Portrait to Landscape and back. If I have a few fields, I can also organize my page into columns by clicking on this button and changing the settings in this dialog box. We're going to click Cancel. This Page Setup button takes you into a dialog box where you can set all of the same options that we can on the ribbon. Click Cancel here as well. Go back to the Design tab and toggle back to the Report view, and I can see what my report will look like when it's printed. When you're ready to print, click on the File tab to go to Backstage View, and then come down here to Print. Working in Layout View allows you to modify your report so the data can be read easily and so the report looks nice.